My name is Rebecca Bennett. I'm 30 years old, and I've spent most of my adult life chasing recognition in a career that nearly consumed me. I thought that night would finally be mine. I rose from my chair at our family dinner, my heart pounding ready to announce the biggest achievement of my life, a groundbreaking tech project launch that could change everything for my future. The room filled with applause, warm cheers wrapping around me like a long-awaited victory. But then, right on cue, my younger brother clutched his chest, gasped for breath, and collapsed into his chair crying out for our mother. The air went still. Every pair of eyes swung toward him, and in an instant, my moment vanished just like it always had. He'd been pulling this stunt for years, faking chest pains to steal the spotlight whenever I had something important to share. This time, though, I was ready. I had spent weeks observing him planning carefully. Just 15 minutes before dinner, I had recorded a video predicting his every move, clutching his chest, calling for Mom, collapsing dramatically. And now, as he played the victim once more, I slid my phone across the table and said calmly, "Watch this first." The screen lit up. His eyes widened, color draining from his face. He screamed no and tried to flee, but I stepped in front of him. "Not this time," I said firmly. Everyone stared frozen, waiting for the truth to drop like a hammer. And I knew it was about to change everything. If you've ever had your big moment stolen by family drama, share your story in the comments. I want to hear how you lived through it, because maybe you'll see a piece of yourself in me. Growing up, Benjamin was always the center of attention. Born 2 months premature, he arrived tiny, barely breathing, hooked to machines in a sterile hospital room. Mom and Dad treated him like he might break any second. They'd rush to the store for whatever he wanted: new action figures, the latest video games, even a shiny red bike he barely rode. If he whimpered, they'd cancel our family plans. I remember begging to go to a water park for my 10th birthday, but Benjamin had a fever, so we stayed home while he played with his new remote control car. The next day, he was fine, running around the backyard. Mom would say, "He's fragile, Rebecca. You have to understand." Dad would nod, handing him another toy to keep him calm. My wants didn't matter. My science fair, where I'd spent weeks building a model rocket, was skipped because Benjamin felt dizzy. They drove him to the doctor, leaving my project display half set up. I won first place, but no one was there to cheer. When I brought home the ribbon, Mom brushed it off, saying, "We were worried about your brother." It wasn't just about toys or canceled plans. Mom and Dad demanded I step back always. At my high school graduation, I was set to give a speech as class president. Right before I walked on stage, Benjamin clutched his chest, groaning for Mom. They whisked him to the ER, missing my moment entirely. The doctor sent him home hours later, perfectly healthy. When I asked why they didn't stay, Dad said, "You know how serious his condition is." But I knew better. By his teens, Benjamin was running track lifting weights stronger than most kids his age. No more hospital visits, no more machines. Yet he'd learned a trick that worked every time. Faking chest pain got him everything: attention, sympathy, control. At my college award ceremony, where I was honored for a tech project, he collapsed again. Moaning, "Mom, it hurts." The event stopped, everyone focused on him, my trophy forgotten. My 25th birthday party at a local restaurant was cut short when he fainted mid-toast, sprawling across the table. Mom scolded me for not helping him up first while Dad called an ambulance. Another clean bill of health, another smirk from Benjamin when no one was looking. The favoritism wasn't just unfair, it was deliberate. Mom and Dad never questioned his episodes, even when doctors found nothing. If I pointed out how convenient his timing was, Mom would snap, "You're too hard on him, Rebecca." Dad would add, "He's been through enough." My achievements, straight A's, internships, my first big tech job, were barely acknowledged. Benjamin's fake illnesses trumped everything. Once I overheard Mom telling Aunt Linda I was too focused on myself because I complained about missing my senior prom. Benjamin had chest pain that night, so Mom and Dad stayed home, leaving me to go alone. He was playing video games an hour later, laughing like nothing happened. Each time he stole my moment, the wall between us grew taller. I tried talking to Mom, showing her how his sickness only flared up when I was in the spotlight. She waved me off, saying I was imagining things. Benjamin would catch my eye afterward, his lips curling just enough to taunt me. He wasn't just soaking up attention, he was making sure I had none. The unfairness burned, but it wasn't just about me losing out. It was about him winning every single time at my expense. That resentment settled deep, a knot I couldn't untie, pushing us further apart with every lie he told. It didn't take long for me to notice something wasn't right. Benjamin's health episodes weren't random, they followed a script. He'd clutch his chest always, the left side groan for Mom with a pained look, and say his pain was an 8 or 9 out of 10. His breathing would turn shallow, his eyes scanning to see who noticed. Exactly 2 hours later, he'd be back to normal, scrolling his phone or joking with friends. I started spotting this pattern everywhere. At a family dinner last spring, I was sharing news about a new tech client and everyone was listening for once. Right as I got to the best part, Benjamin gripped his chest, gasped "Mom, help," and slumped in his chair. The conversation stopped. Mom rushed over and Dad started Googling symptoms. 2 hours later, he was eating dessert, laughing like nothing happened. Another time at a cousin's barbecue, I was telling Dad about a promotion opportunity. Benjamin cut in, clutching his chest, moaning, "It's bad, Mom." The party paused. Everyone hovered, but by the end of the night, he was tossing a football with cousins perfectly fine. Each time the pattern was identical: left-sided chest pain, call for Mom. High pain rating and a miraculous recovery. The breaking point came with my biggest career moment yet. I'd been chosen to pitch a cutting-edge software project to my company's board, a chance to lead a major team. I'd spent months preparing, tweaking slides, practicing my delivery. The night before the pitch, we had a family rehearsal dinner at a local steakhouse to celebrate. Mom and Dad were there, smiling, asking questions about my project. I felt seen for the first time in years. Then, halfway through my practice run, Benjamin grabbed his chest, wheezed, "Mom, it hurts," and slumped over the table. Mom dropped her glass. Dad fumbled for his phone and the restaurant staff called an ambulance. The ER ran tests, EKGs, blood work, the works, and found nothing. They sent him home saying he was fine. I went to my pitch the next day, rattled, my confidence cracked. I didn't get the lead role, and when I told Mom, she said, "You'll get another chance, but your brother's health comes first." Benjamin overheard his lips twitching into a smirk. My 28th birthday was another casualty. I'd organized a low-key party at a rooftop bar, inviting family and a few work friends. I was excited, maybe naively, to have a night about me. As I stood to give a quick thank you speech, glass raised, Benjamin doubled over, clutching his chest, gasping, "Mom, it's happening again." The room froze. Dad dialed 911. Mom hovered over him, and my guests shuffled out, murmuring apologies. The ambulance took him away, and I spent my birthday in a hospital waiting room staring at vending machines. 2 hours later, Benjamin was sitting up, sipping a soda, telling a nurse he felt better now. No diagnosis, no explanation. When I got home, I found him playing video games, not a care in the world. That was when I knew he wasn't sick. He was targeting me, timing his episodes to ruin my moments. The pattern was undeniable. I couldn't let it slide anymore. I started tracking him like a detective. Every time he had an episode, I logged it on my phone: date, time, pain description, recovery. I noticed he'd always start by calling Mom, never Dad, and his pain was always 8 or 9. I began watching him at family events, phone ready to capture anything suspicious. At a relative's wedding, I caught him in a quiet hallway, practicing his pain face, grimacing, clutching his chest, checking his reflection in a glass door. I snapped a photo, my heart pounding. When I showed it to Mom, she brushed it off, saying, "He's just stressed." That hurt, but it made me more determined. I checked his phone during a family cookout when he left it on the counter. There, I found an email he'd sent to my ex Kevin from a fake account posing as me, claiming I'd lied about my work hours. Kevin had dumped me a week later, citing dishonesty. I saved a screenshot, my blood boiling. I bought a small voice recorder and started carrying it everywhere. One evening, I caught Benjamin on a call with a friend chuckling. The chest pain trick works every time mom drops everything. I saved that clip along with others. Each note, photo, and recording was a step toward exposing him. I wasn't just angry, I was ready to end his game for good. With a plan in mind, I started gathering evidence. I knew I needed hard proof to expose Benjamin's lies, something undeniable. My first break came at a family picnic a few months ago. I'd been keeping my recorder hidden in my pocket, waiting for a chance. Benjamin was sitting on a bench with his friend Evan, away from the crowd, laughing over beers. I slipped behind a tree close enough to catch their voices, but out of sight. Benjamin was bragging, his tone smug. "It's so easy," he said. I grab my chest, say it's a 9, and mom comes running. Works every time. Evan chuckled, asking, "You're not worried they'll figure it out?" Benjamin scoffed. "They're too busy feeling sorry for me." My hands shook as I checked the recorder. Every word was clear. That clip was gold proof he'd been faking his episodes to manipulate everyone. I saved it to my cloud drive, heart pounding with a mix of anger and triumph. I couldn't confront him yet, but I was getting closer. Next, I needed to prove how far his lies went. I'd always wondered why Kevin, my ex, ended things so abruptly last year. He'd called me out of the blue, saying he couldn't trust me anymore, that I'd been dishonest. It never made sense until I got access to Benjamin's laptop during a family movie night. He'd left it open on the couch, and I took my chance. Digging through his email, I found a burner account he'd created posing as me. He'd sent Kevin messages claiming I was hiding a side job, even faking screenshots of texts I never wrote. One email read, "I've been lying about my hours, Kevin. I'm sorry." My stomach churned as I realized those lies broke us up. Kevin had believed them, cutting me off without a second thought. I forwarded the emails to myself, hands trembling, and deleted the sent copies to cover my tracks. That evidence wasn't just about Benjamin's manipulation, it was personal, a wound he'd inflicted to isolate me. Then came the video. I'd heard Benjamin liked to hang out at a local park, so one Saturday I followed him. I kept my distance phone ready, blending in with joggers and dog walkers. There he was, near a picnic table, away from the main path. He stood in front of a car window, using it as a mirror, practicing his pain face. He'd clutch his chest, wince, mutter, "Mom, it hurts," then adjust his expression, trying different angles. My heart raced as I zoomed in, recording every move. The footage was crystal clear. Benjamin, healthy and smirking, rehearsing his act like a performer. He even paused to check his phone, probably timing how long he needed to fake it. I saved the video, my palms sweaty, knowing this was the final piece I needed. No one could deny what he was doing after seeing that. I was ready to move forward, but doubt crept in. What if I was wrong? What if confronting him tore the family apart? That's when I turned to Megan, my best friend. We met at a coffee shop one evening, away from prying eyes. I poured out everything, the recordings, the emails, the video, the years of stolen moments. My voice cracked as I admitted how much it hurt, how alone I felt. Megan listened, her eyes steady, and took my hand. "You're not crazy, Rebecca," she said. "He's been manipulating everyone, and you have the proof. You need to face this, not just for you, but for the truth." Her words hit hard, cutting through my fear. She didn't tell me what to do or how to do it, just that I was right to fight back. That support gave me the strength to keep going. I left the coffee shop with a fire in my chest, ready to build an airtight case. Benjamin's lies were about to run out of room. The night at the amusement park was the perfect stage. I'd planned every detail, knowing Benjamin couldn't resist stealing my spotlight. At a family gathering in Orlando, surrounded by relatives at a festive outdoor dinner, I stood to announce a fake tech project, a supposed $1 million deal with a major company. I made it sound huge, life-changing, the kind of news that would make anyone jealous. Mom clapped first, her smile wide. Dad raised his glass, saying, "That's my girl." Aunt Linda cheered, and even distant cousins nodded, impressed. I glanced at Benjamin across the table, his jaw tight, his fork stabbing at his plate. I could feel his resentment simmering, just as I'd predicted. I'd set the trap, and he was about to walk right into it. The table buzzed with excitement, everyone asking me questions about the project, my future plans, the money. I leaned into it, painting a picture of success, watching Benjamin's face grow darker with every word. Right on cue, it happened. Benjamin dropped his fork, clutched his left chest, and gasped. "Mom, it's bad." He slumped in his chair, groaning, his face twisted in fake pain. Mom leaped up, knocking over her drink. Dad reached for his phone, ready to call an ambulance. Aunt Linda gasped, hands over her mouth. The table fell silent, all eyes on him, just like always. But I stayed calm, my heart steady. I raised my hand and said, "Hold on. You need to see something first." I pulled out my phone, opened the video I'd recorded 15 minutes earlier, and hit play. The screen showed me calm and clear, predicting Benjamin's exact move. He'll grab his left chest, call, for Mom, say the pain's a 9. It's an act. The table froze. Benjamin's eyes widened, his breath hitching, not from pain, but panic. I didn't stop there. I swiped to the next file, a recording from the picnic where Benjamin bragged to Evan. His voice echoed through the speaker. I grab my chest. Say it's a 9, and Mom comes running. Works every time. Mom's face paled, her hands trembling. Dad's jaw dropped, his phone still in hand. I kept going, pulling up the fake emails Benjamin sent to Kevin, claiming I'd lied about my job. The screen showed his burner account, the messages that broke us up. Aunt Linda shook her head, muttering, "No way." Then came the final blow, the video from the park. Benjamin practicing his pain face, wincing and clutching his chest in front of a car window, smirking as he perfected his act. The relatives gasped, some leaning closer to the screen, others staring at Benjamin, who was now sitting up, his face flushed. He tried to speak, stammering, It's not what it looks like." But the evidence was airtight. I locked eyes with him, my voice steady. "You've been lying for years, Benjamin. Every time I had a moment, you faked being sick to take it away." The table was dead silent, everyone waiting for his response. Benjamin's hands shook, his eyes darting between Mom and Dad, finding no rescue. Finally, he snapped, his voice breaking. "Fine. I did it. Okay. I was sick of you getting all the attention, Rebecca. Your projects, your awards, everyone always talking about you." His words hung in the air, a confession ripped out of him. Mom covered her face, tears slipping through her fingers. Dad looked away, his shoulders slumped. Aunt Linda stared at Benjamin, her expression cold. I stood there, heart pounding but resolute, knowing I'd exposed the truth. His jealousy was out in the open, and there was no going back. With the truth out, I faced Benjamin one last time. The amusement park dinner had ended in stunned silence, the weight of his confession hanging over the table. That week, I asked him to meet me in our parents' living room. No audience, just us. I stood tall, my voice steady, but sharp. "You've been manipulating everyone, Benjamin. You faked illnesses to ruin my moments, my career, my relationships, my life. For years, you made me feel invisible, and I'm done letting you get away with it." He sat on the couch, eyes fixed on the floor, hands clenched. At first, he tried to deflect, muttering, "You're blowing this out of proportion." But I cut him off, listing every lie: my stolen graduations, birthdays, the emails to Kevin. "You didn't just want attention," I said. "You wanted me to have none." His silence was deafening, his usual smirk gone. For the first time, he had no defense, no act to hide behind. I saw shame flicker in his eyes, but it wasn't enough to erase the years of hurt. I turned away, my chest tight, but my resolve firm. The fallout hit Benjamin hard. Mom and Dad called a family meeting the next day, their faces grim. Aunt Linda was there, arms crossed, her disappointment clear. Dad spoke first, his voice low. "We trusted you, Benjamin. We gave you everything." They'd discovered he'd been using their credit card, racking up $3,000 on video games, clothes, and concert tickets, money they thought was for medical expenses. Mom's eyes were red, her voice shaking as she demanded he pay it back. "You lied to us, to everyone," she said. Benjamin tried to explain, stammering about stress and needing an escape, but no one bought it. Aunt Linda cut him off, saying, "You've hurt this family enough." Cousins stopped calling him uncles, ignored his texts, and even his friends distanced themselves after hearing about his lies. He sat there, head bowed, as the family he'd manipulated turned their backs. I watched, feeling no pity, only the weight of years spent fighting for scraps of their attention. I'd reached my limit. The betrayal wasn't just Benjamin's, it was Mom and Dad's too. They'd chosen him over me, ignored my achievements, dismissed my pain. I stood in front of them, my voice calm but final. "I've spent my life trying to prove I'm worth something to you, but you never saw me. You let Benjamin's lies overshadow everything I did. I can't keep living like this." I looked at Benjamin, his face pale, then back at Mom and Dad. "I'm done with him, and I'm done with this family. I'm walking away." Mom gasped, reaching for me, but I stepped back. Dad's eyes filled with tears, but he said nothing. Aunt Linda nodded slightly, the only one who seemed to understand. I packed my things that night, leaving behind the house where I'd always been second place. The decision hurt, like cutting out a piece of myself, but it was the only way to reclaim my life. Megan stopped by my new apartment a few days later, a bottle of wine in hand. She didn't bring up the drama or offer advice, just smiled and raised her glass. "To you, Rebecca," she said. "You faced the truth and came out stronger." Her words were simple, but they meant everything. I'd fought for myself, exposed the lies, and walked away from a family that couldn't see my worth. For the first time, I felt free. Leaving that night, I felt free for the first time. Walking away from my family was like shedding a weight I'd carried for years. I moved into a small apartment in Seattle, a space that was mine alone, no shadows of Benjamin's lies. I threw myself into my tech career, taking on new projects at work. I led a team developing a cutting-edge app for a startup, spending late nights coding and brainstorming. The work was grueling but exhilarating. Every line of code, every successful launch was a step toward a life I defined. I started mentoring younger engineers, sharing my expertise, and landed a speaking slot at a tech conference. My colleagues respected me, my ideas mattered, and for once, no one stole my spotlight. I made new friends, people who saw me for me, not as someone's sister. I'd wake up each morning with a sense of purpose, no longer dreading family dinners or fake emergencies. My apartment became a sanctuary filled with plants and books, a place where I could breathe. The freedom wasn't just from Benjamin, it was from years of fighting to be seen. I was finally living for myself. The journey taught me a hard truth. Honesty is the foundation of any relationship. Growing up, I'd watched Benjamin manipulate everyone with his fake illnesses, twisting their trust to his advantage. It cost him everything: family, friends, respect. I realized relationships, whether with family or anyone else, can't survive without truth. When I started my new life, I made a promise to be honest, even when it was hard. At work, I owned my mistakes, shared credit with my team, and built trust that way. I thought back to a colleague who once lied about his contributions to a project only to lose the team's respect when the truth came out. Honesty wasn't just about avoiding lies, it was about building something real, something lasting. Benjamin's manipulation showed me the other side. Lies might win in the moment, but they unravel everything in the end. That lesson shaped how I approached my career, my friendships, and even myself. I'd never let anyone or anything erode that foundation again. To everyone watching this story, thank you for sticking with me. Sharing this hasn't been easy. It's raw, it's messy, but it's real. I hope it resonates with you whether you've dealt with family drama betrayal or just the struggle to be seen. What would you have done in my shoes? Have you ever had to confront someone who crossed a line? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your stories. If this hit home, please share it with someone who might need to hear it. And if you want to keep up with my journey, hit that subscribe button and join the community. Your support means the world, and I'm grateful for every one of you who's taken the time to listen. Let's keep the conversation going because truth matters and so do your voices. Benjamin's life, meanwhile, fell apart. After that night in Orlando, the family's trust in him shattered. Mom and Dad stopped answering his calls, their disappointment too deep to bridge. Aunt Linda refused to invite him to gatherings, saying she couldn't look at him the same. They demanded he repay the $3,000 he'd blown on frivolous purchases, forcing him to take a second job to cover it. His friends, once quick to laugh at his schemes, drifted away when they learned the truth. I heard from a cousin that Benjamin moved to a small apartment, living alone, rarely seen at family events. He'd built his world on lies, and when it collapsed, no one was left to catch him. I didn't feel triumph watching him fall, just a quiet relief that his actions had consequences. My life was mine now, and I wasn't looking back.